All right, let's get away from EA then. Let's be done with them. We're going to real quick hit on Bethesda, because I know there's somebody here who wants to talk about Dishonored 2. But Bethesda last year had a conference to reveal Fallout 4. Okay, they did Fallout 4, they did their mobile game, they talked about a few other things here and there. They do not have Fallout 4 this year, though. And they just had a big DLC come out, so they can announce that. What could they be bringing to the table to even warrant having a press conference still?
Show the new Elder Scrolls for, they're not the online, but tease the next Elder Scrolls game.
You think they would really go there already?
I think not like, it wouldn't be like Fallout where it's like, going to come this November, but I think just a tease saying that they've started working on it, or, maybe they've kind of switched directions and they'll announce a Doom single player expansion. I know it might be a little short notice, but it seems like they need more than just Dishonored 2 for a press conference.
Yeah. I want to touch real quick on what you said with the Doom single player. I think they may have seen enough of the negative reaction to the multiplayer and the fact that their season pass is only multiplayer. I think they will come out with the DLC for Doom. Yeah. I don't know if they'll have much to show off, but I think that they'll say, you know what, we heard it. One of our DLCs is going to be single player based. But I'm just throwing that out there. All right, so to the man who wanted to talk about Dishonored 2, we're going to go to Jacob then. Let's hear it.
Dishonored 2, yes.
Oh, you can hear him clap his hands together. He was ready.
Woo! It's my time to shine! Anyway, so the story is now that you can eat, and I read that you're going to be able to choose between playing Emily Qualden, the princess you saved in the first Dishonored, or you can go back to the main character, Corvo. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm not sure how that's going to tie into the expansive world, if it's going to have two separate storylines or not. But from the trailer, you can see that playing as Emily, she has new and improved abilities. Mostly it looks like shadow grasps and things like that, shadow-based creatures. And from what I saw, there was going to be a new infestation type. You know how we had the rats back in Dishonored, eating everything and anything, toes, eyes, and all, even the people you don't want to kill. It looks like a hive-like infestation, so bugs and insects. And I know that Dishonored was actually highly praised to an extent, because the way it was, I think it got compared to Thief. Majority of people I play games with are like, we like Dishonored better.
Yeah.
So, but just from the new standpoint, I kind of want to know how that story's going to go, because just from the trailer where they're calling Emily now an assassin, and she's getting blamed for a murder apparently, which is kind of like retro going back to Dishonored. So it's probably going to have a very similar story, which is kind of suck a little bit as they do that route. But from what I saw, it looks like there's going to be a whole other conspiracy cover-up kind of deal going on.
Yeah.
So I got a feeling there's going to be very similar mechanics, I'm just hoping for the mechanics to be a little bit more better, so they receive better command input and things like that, because I know in Dishonored, a lot of the times the controls could be a little glitchy, or, certain things would not register.
Oh, did you not like trying to do your killless playthroughs and accidentally kill somebody because something didn't work right?
Yeah, that. or the rats. They show up out of...
I tried, and I will emphasize the word try. I tried to do a killless playthrough of that game. I was like, it's all going to be stealth. There's just going to be knocking out people. I'm going to sneak around. And the amount of times when I was like, okay, I'm going to use, this ability now and get caught by a stupid, spotlight or something, or a guard, and have it go off, and just got frustrated with it. Because, like I said, emphasizing tried. Because I didn't finish that playthrough. My playthroughs were very, very heavy on the killing.
Oh, yeah.
Stealth did not work.
It got to the point where I just killed everything. Every guard, either knocked them out, put them in a locker, or they died. There was not happening.
Well, and you brought up that, having the two different characters, supposedly you're going to be able to play both. If it's going to be level-based, will it be, you play as the girl the first few levels, and then you play as Corvo? Or
what I read is it's going to be, you can choose between the characters. So you're going to play the prologue as Emily,
yeah,
right? And then after that, you get to choose who you want to play as.
Okay.
Kind of like...
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So what I'm thinking is they're probably going to do it something similar to Syndicate, because they talked about, instead of having, where you would put the points into a specific ability, like they did in Dishonored 1, it's going to be a skill tree now. You're going to have 3 skill trees, kind of like Borderlands, with each having unique abilities or unique setup requirements. So my guess is they're probably going to go like Syndicate route, where you can choose, hey, I want to play as Emily or is it Eve or what is his name? Jacob, Eve or Jacob, where you can choose between playing either one of those at any point in time until the story otherwise states.
So, well, and then my big question there then, and it would tie into that. So if we're going, put in the points into each, will they play differently enough then that you would actually want to play it again? Because that would be a big thing. If you play as her and you go through and you put all these points into her and you see how the game plays out, are they going to be different enough to warrant wanting to go back and play Corvo again then?
That's a good question. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is they're going to do it to where like Corvo has his original skill set, so all the abilities he had from Dishonored 1, whereas Emily has a new skill set. And if they do it right, they could probably make it kind of like an immersive Mass Effect campaign, where you can make the different choices, and each character will have their own set of unique choices, or a unique storyline that goes along with them. So if you're playing as Corvo, you're going to try to figure out what happened that caused Emily to be the number one prime target, and you're going to go a little bit of a different route with the story. But as gameplay-wise, I think the biggest difference you're going to see is the abilities, in way like Corvo had the teleportation, or he was really quick and slow time, stuff like that. Whereas Emily, she has like what looks like a shadow kind of effect. Like in one scene, you can see her using like a shadow tendril to pull herself instead of teleport. And in another scene, you can see her turn what looks like into a shadow demon and start crawling after her target as the walls are enclosing upon her.
So, going with that then, Corvo is time stopping still? And do you think gameplay will be that you cannot actually stop time, but now you have to use, and maybe you have to actually use the shadows for some of those abilities? But so hers will not stop time at all. You have to strategically plan out how you do this, but you get more escapes, a little bit more maneuverability. Corvo can still stop time. Yes. And maybe that's where the two mechanics will be to play it differently.
That's what I'm seeing, because if they're going to allow you to play as Corvo, but then use the new skill set, I don't think that would be canon friendly, because a lot of people, like I would be like, well, it's like playing the same character and there's no point in choosing.
Yeah.
You might as well just let me play as Emily the whole time. So I feel like if they're going to allow you to choose between the two characters, they got to bring Corvo's old skill set back to give that canon and to give it a reason to play as him.
Gotcha. All right, so we're going to hop over to Will then real quick, who I'm sure has no knowledge of Dishonored 2 or Fallout 4. So we're going to end it with you.
Okay.
Have you ever played any of the Fallout games?
No.
No? Have you ever played any of the Elder Scroll games?
No.
You have played neither? Can anybody think of another Bethesda game off the top of their head real quick?
Rage?
Rage. Yes. How about Prey?
Nope.
Prey.
Okay. So now, instead of this being for Will, I'm going to make this roundtable because I'm going to change the question then. Prey 2 is rumored to be there. A very, obscure rumor. It's not one of those where they're like, oh yeah, Prey 2's, you might see Prey, Prey 2, wink wink. It is a very, they have a team working on a game. Nobody knows what it is. Can Prey 2 make an appearance after they technically announced that they were looking forward to making it about 5 years ago?
I don't think it's going to be.
Is this going the way of Duke Nukem Forever?
Yeah.
Because, that was one of those things. They were like, oh, yeah, because I think they even had, like, a quick trailer. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to work on Prey 2. And all of a sudden, it's like, we don't have a team anymore for Prey 2.
Yeah, because I think, if I remember correctly, the trailer was about a character, just like in Prey 1, alien invasion happens, wherever you're at, you get kidnapped in this case, right? You're one of the people get kidnapped. And then it shows you, like, I guess a couple of years later, as a bounty hunter in an alien society.
Yeah.
Which then just strictly brings me back right to the Star Wars Boba Fett game. I was like...
Bethesda is working on Star Wars 1313. There's your rumor from this show.
Right. So, but the whole Prey 2 concept, it's been so long, and it's one of those games that has just gone off the radar completely, whether it's development requirements or anything that's going on. So I don't think it's going to make it.
Yeah, was Prey popular enough to want people to really want Prey 2?
Well, I think because they were trying a new concept, like, because Prey 1, that was a weird game and a half. All right. Controls were a little bit clunky, and stuff like that, and the storyline wasn't all there, and so they were trying to take a different route. Now, if they do end up falling through and making Prey 2, they're going to have to market it completely, like in almost a completely different kind of setting, where it's not that, you're trying to save your girlfriend or whatever from aliens on an airplane, to where it's this, they're going to have to go more of an open world kind of game, with a way better control mechanic.
Yep. All right. So we're gonna kick Bethesda to the curb then, for the time being. We got our we got our Dishonored 2 in there. That was a big one. I want to wedge in somebody else before we get on to Microsoft. I want to bring up somebody who is going to be at all of the press conferences most likely, and that is going to be Square Enix. Because Final Fantasy 15 is out for PS4 and for Xbox One. I have an odd feeling that both of them will have a quick snippet of a trailer. Because neither one of them has really any big exclusive rights to this one. I know Sony's always had more with Square than Microsoft has. But I think they'll both showcase it real quick just because it looks amazing. But this gets to bring our other guest on here, Will, back into this conversation, because I know the last few games he's been definitely coming out of right field to even participate in. So we're going to move to Square Enix, and we're going to start with the big bad boy in the art, and that is Final Fantasy 15, which I know the past couple Final Fantasies Will has not been the biggest fan of, because they have pulled away. But from what you have seen of 15, what are you feeling about this game so far?
Well, and that was the thing. So with previous ones, Final Fantasy Type 0, if we go back far enough and we start seeing where Final Fantasy started getting away from turn-based, to, more of an active combat system, when I tried to play Type 0, I'm one of those guys that got motion sickness, so that really messed me up. I played for about an hour and a half. I only got a Type 0 because it had the Final Fantasy name on it. I was like, you know what? I own all Final Fantasy games. That's what I'm going to do. But I ended up having to basically put it away because I can't play it. Now, Final Fantasy 15, I tell you what, I saw quite a bit of the trailers. I follow it. The combat system, switching your weapon, switching your people, the teleporting was the biggest thing. I was like, wow, that is so cool. But it is, for me, one of the most troublesome things, because if I can't play this game, I'm probably going to throw or flip a table as well. So obviously the graphics are absolutely amazing. The cars, driving around in cars, okay, yeah.
You don't want the buddy road trip happening?
Yeah, and that was the thing. I mean, going up through the mountains, in one of a sports car or whatnot, through the trees and jumping out and fighting monsters, all that stuff. Okay, great. But it takes away from, what some of us classic Final Fantasy players, we're used to. There's the open world concept. Yes, that's great. That's awesome. Few of us still prefer the turn-based, the linear. You still have a map that you kind of focus to go there, almost like a Final Fantasy X style. So this is it's going to be an interesting game. But for me, the combat is just absolutely amazing. I mean, if watching it, it's just glorious. I can't wait to actually live it, as best I can while I'm playing, and hope to crap that whatever medication that I could take really keeps my motion sickness in check.
Lots of drama.
Because if anything, it's your camera. If the camera spins way too quickly, like it does in HD, or not HD, in Type 0, I couldn't keep up with it. It was bad, man. This one, it seems like you focus, port to that area, do your combat and whatnot. It doesn't seem like the camera's really spinning around a whole lot. Yeah. So,
in defense of your motion sickness, real quick, I think everybody had that issue who played Type 0. Because I don't have motion sickness, and I hated the camera in Type 0.
Oh, okay. So hopefully they've learned from that, and possibly in this game, if they see, that it's having the same effect, that they can do a camera option in there to slow it down, or, take it out. Well, you can't take it out completely because you got to move around, there's got to be some way to limit it so that you're not going to get nauseous every time you friggin' port to somebody.
Well, I will say from the two different demos, from episode Deske, however they pronounce it, and from Platinum demo, the camera's not that bad. It's nowhere near as bad as it is in Type 0.
Yeah.
And it's even better than like when they did the Final Fantasy X re-releases. For the few areas you could move the camera in there. It's better than that. It's better than the camera in Lightning Returns, which I'm sure that made a bunch of people mad too. Which here's how you make people mad. I actually like Final Fantasy 13 and its sequels, so suck it.
I enjoy the game.
See? Ha! Two of us. High five.
To be honest, 13 was a little challenging for me. I was like, wow.
Compared to the other challenging to get through.
Yeah.
I get the slowdown.
Yeah, well, don't forget, though, in Final Fantasy 15, you have a lot of that aerial combat. So, that camera is going to spin depending on, what you're doing. But I'll be honest with you, bringing it up into that dimension was another great, one of those jaw-dropping things like, holy crap, look at this. We're up in the air, we're fighting, we're doing all kinds of things. Once again, it's great. I like the radio menu. It sort of still has that, not classic, turn-based, but it's still, you have the options of being able to switch your weapons around or choose your combat style. So I think it's actually going to be a really cool game. We'll see what happens.
Eric, are you still awake over there?
I am. Just in the conversation. Yeah.
I was gonna say he's the only one who didn't chime in on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly when I'm trying with 15, I'm trying to, I watched that event they had a couple of months ago, but I'm really trying to kind of as best I can keep a blackout on it because I feel the last couple of Final Fantasies I went in knowing a little bit too much, but the car thing looks a little bit, it doesn't seem very Final Fantasy to me, but the combat looks really good. And what I've tried from the demos is really good. But, I just hope it's, I think at this point there's no way it can live up to the expectations. But I have high hopes for it. But I'm, more excited about 7, the remake. But, I'll give 15 a shot.
Anything
he's got to get the 7 here soon.
Oh, I was going to say, I know Will is going to be excited for 7. We'll get to that one next.
No, actually, I think what Will hit was all the same things I was going to hit. I mean, I got to play the Platinum demo, and since it was a demo, everything looked amazing besides a few clippings of like the clothing and stuff like that. But that was just a beta release, and I agree with the car thing. That car theme seems kind of out of place because even in the demo when you were just driving around knocking blocks over, which is kind of fun by the way. It was like something that was just kind of weird, because a lot of Final Fantasy games, you ride chocobos, and chocobos still give you that reason to fight enemies because you're not necessarily going really fast on a chocobo.
But with the chocobos are still in this game too.
Yeah, they still are. And let me add in, though, you cannot forget Final Fantasy VIII, though, because Final Fantasy VIII, what did you go around in?
You did. You had a car for part of the time. You had you had Seed Garden as it, the garden as it was flying.
As the ship, that went around. Yeah.
True. Yeah. So how are they going to implement that combat? Because I know a lot of all the other Final Fantasies used to be straight up randomized enemy turns, or encounters, a random enemy encounter.
No, all the enemies, because you didn't get to play episode Doske, however it's pronounced. Okay, because it came with Final Fantasy Type 0, so you had to actually buy Type 0 to play it. The way the combat works is that everything is spawned out in the world.
Mm-hmm. So
a lot of the soldiers that you would fight would literally get dropped down from airships onto the ground and would kind of be there. The creatures would be, running around, so that they're all already drawn in the world. Some of them you have to fight. There's a cave in there where you have to fight tons of the goblins that are in there and stuff. All the other enemies you can kind of choose if you want to try to avoid, or try to your best to avoid them. So that's kind of how they're going to go around with it, is that nothing is really a randomized battle in a sense. So that's your answer for that one. I will say I'm disappointed that you guys are all, I shouldn't say against, but skeptic of the buddy car. Because I'm all for this road trip. I'm going to drive around in that car until it's out of gas.
That's
Do I get to sing with the buddies? Like in Saints Row, Pierce just sing at me. We're going to start singing Busy Marky.
You get to sing Stand By Me from the trailer.
Sweet.
I'll probably find myself doing it tons of times, too.
Oh, yeah. I'll play that. I'll play that same thing over and over again.
I am all for driving until it runs out of gas, and we all set up our chairs, our Kirkland chairs, and bust out the Coleman and stuff, and have it all right there, all the product placement in the world that's been in these trailers, and I'm just gonna chill with these guys and just let the timer run on my game time. That's all it's gonna be. I'm not gonna advance the story after a while. It's like it is gonna be a buddy road trip movie for me the whole entire time. I'm gonna have 50 hours of us just driving up and down roads.
At the 160-hour mark, hey, why are we still camping in the same spot? I don't know, but pass me a beer.
Yeah, everybody going, hey, how far have you gotten? I'm like 20 minutes into the game. Really? How come you haven't played it? Oh, I've played it. I have clocked over 100 hours. We have been camping and cooking the whole time. Whenever I run out of ingredients, I go kill a few things and come back and camp. That's my game. There's my Final Fantasy experience for you. I will finish this on a total sexist note, though, because it has to be brought up. Not Sid. Mind you, Sid's in the game. Actual dude, or at least by name. But his daughter, Sydney. Or Cindy, or however you're going to go with whatever subtitles you get.
Sydney, because that just, makes it, cliche. Like, hey, what are we going to call her? Sydney. Yeah. There you go.
That is a, I don't want to get slapped, so I'm not going to say amazing character design, but a very interesting character design, to say the least. To give a female mechanic Daisy Dukes and thigh-high socks.
Oh, right on.
Just gonna, yeah. I'm gonna leave it at that, and then let everybody else start Google searching some of those drawings that are already out there, because that is interesting.
Take her on your camping trip, right?
Yeah. How come she doesn't get to come? I will say in the Deske demo or whatever, there's a couple quick lines where some of the guys are kind of enthralled by her, and it seems oblivious to their advances, but I think it's more of just like, really, you guys? I've heard this I hear this 100 times a day. Y'all are nothing to me.
Like, nobody needs to hear about your helicopter monkey.
Yeah. You see how hot I am? I don't need you. Get out of here. Go get in your car with your 3 buddies, and you guys go do you. So, all right, but sticking with Square then, we're going to the other big Final Fantasy game that was mentioned, and that is Final Fantasy Worlds. You guys remember that one from last year?
Yeah, it was right before they announced
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, are we not excited about Worlds? Is that not the Final Fantasy game I was supposed to get to next?
I haven't heard about that one.
You haven't? It's literally just like little chibi versions of all these characters.
It's World of Final Fantasy.
Or World of Final Fantasy. See? Somebody's excited for it.
Yeah, no.
That's amazing. You play as little cute versions, or you play as these 2 little cute characters, and you get cute versions of all the characters from the games. Little cute lightning and a little cute Cloud, because nobody wants Cloud in a different game. Trust me, right?
It's like a Kingdom Hearts version cartoon.
It's even cuter.
Yeah,
it's adorable. It looks like the stuff that you put on like your keychain. All right, let's get to the real one, because World of Final Fantasies, I think, still looks interesting, still looks fun, but everybody's waiting on the Final Fantasy VII remake. Am I correct in this assumption?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
About time. 20,000 years in the making. At least it feels that way.
Well, there's time travel involved. Things happen.
Yeah. Oh, this came from a different universe, because we all traveled into the future. The game wasn't coming out. We're like, no, F this. You find me a reality that is making this remake. We bring it to ours. But, so we know it's coming. We all saw it last year. Thank you, Sony press conference, for that one, which I got to see with Eric in a movie theater, which was phenomenal.
That was cool.
So, we all know it's coming. We all also know that it is episodic. Do we have big issues with it being episodic?
Okay. Who's going to go first? You're going to have to really, pick somebody. So,
go ahead, Will.
Let's start with Will. Let's go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we know how massive Final Fantasy VII was, especially when it came out back in the day. How many discs was it back when?
3 or 4 discs.
It was 3.
Okay. 3 discs. All right. For them to bring it to the advancement of, today's technology and everything, and even with the upgrades of discs that they can put the game on, there was no way they could fit it all on one disc. If they did, they would have to start cutting out a lot of the, the mechanics and everything that we want in a true Final Fantasy VII game. So part of me is, yes, you're going to be frustrated because you want to play the whole damn thing. And who knows truly how long it's going to be between each episode, okay? Because, delays can happen. You don't want to be sitting there playing a game and get to that one point and then go, oh my gosh, I got to wait a year before I can play the next part. However, to get the true experience of Final Fantasy again after 20 years, yes, I am willing to wait for the episodes to all come out. Now, I may actually be that one guy who will buy the first one and then leave it there and then wait till all the episodes are out, just like Netflix. You want the whole season, and then sit down and play it all back to back so that I don't miss out. But the problem with that is that it's all the people out there go, oh my gosh, this part was cool and this part was great and this is awesome. And hey, look at this clip, look at this video. And I'm like, crap, I can't stay off the internet for freaking 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm. That's tough. I don't know if I could wait. I've been waiting for this game for so long. I don't know if I could wait for the whole season, especially if they follow a Valve-like release schedule of episodes.
I thought you were about to say like Half-Life 3.
That's why I said Valve. Yeah. After Half-Life,
you never get the last one.
No, still waiting for that. But yeah, it's yeah. It depends. As long as they keep the core content, they don't change anybody's. I'm not going to spoil anything, but deaths or. If they keep the main story beats in, even if they add some stuff.
Do you not want them to change the Honeybee Inn?
No, because it's part of the whole. It's part of the game.
That's one of their problems. They're unsure on how they're going to be able to add Cloud cross-dressing as a woman.
Yeah,
I'm sure they've made their decision already. But yeah, that's going to be the interesting reveal on if that's still in there.
Mm-hmm.
It should be. It's canon.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, people are going to have their little gripe. So Cloud's a man, he shouldn't be cross-dressing and all that stuff. And we'll tell him to shut up.
Yeah. We all sit here and honestly say we've never dressed up as a woman for a good time. Just me?
I think there's pictures of when I was like, 3 or 4 of me in a princess dress. I'm pretty sure they're somewhere. I think it was a Snow White one, too.
3 or 4 or 3 or 4 days ago?
Either one, you believe what you want. I'm not gonna. I plead the fifth.
So we kind of know, like, we all don't want episodic, but we understand why.
Yeah.
My question then, and we'll start with Jacob on this one, is if they're going episodic, how do they cut it off? Because there's so much to these games, and they say each one's going to be, their own game, basically. It's all going to be, a full-fledged game. So do they cut it off where the discs ended? Or do you start cutting it off like the first episode ends when you would have left Midgar? But when you think about it, how would that be a full game? Because there wasn't enough to do on the side for that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the questions I was going to bring up. Since they're doing episodic, and like you're saying, how are they going to end it? What are they going to do to fill in that time between games? Because I know if like you play or like any Telltale game, they do the episode thing, or like even the recently Resident Evil. Was that the Resident Evil game that was episodic? Revelations, yeah. Thank you too. Was episodic. What are you going to do to fill it in? Because you're not bringing a new game to the table. You're bringing an old game. So are you going to add more mini games or more content? To fill out time. That was my biggest question. So and then how you're going to end it is another big. That's a great point to bring up. Because a lot of games that do the multi-disc, they can end it at certain points and you just put it in the next disc. But now you're going to have to wait for an episode. So they're either going to have to leave it to where it's either a really good cliffhanger, or they're just going to have to do something weird to kind of explain or to give it a reason to end.
Yeah. And the reason I brought up real quick Midgar as being the first cutoff point is because of every single thing we have seen so far. Every actual in-game clip has only been in Midgar.
Yeah.
Which makes me really think that is what the full first episode will be.
More than likely, that's what we're going to do. They're going to end it at the end of the road, the freeway with the motorcycle chase and everything. But my issue is that how do you control the levels in between? do you limit it? Do you set your max level, say for episode 1, whatever, your max level's 30? That's it. And then when disc 2 comes out, or the next part, then you continue off from 30 and go on. Because you don't want somebody going, well, wow, I'll just level my character to 99 on disc 1 and then wait for the next sets.
I want to see that happen. I want to see the real life version of the South Park World of Warcraft episode where they grind boars until they're max level.
Yeah.
I want to see that in here. I want to see people stay in the Shinra building and just grind out soldiers and abominations and little spawns of Genova and just fight that until they're 99.
Well,
1 XP at a time.
And the other thing is then if they do limit, levels, but then what about like items and gold? Do you sit there and try and farm gold, until, a year later the next episode gets released?
Before you get the nerds mad, it's Gil.
My bad.
I'm gonna have to flip a table next time.
No.
Tables being flipped with this.
Hey, I've been grinding Diablo 3 for friggin'
it's all gold
ever since season 6 came out. So yeah, that's all I have in my freaking head is gold. Anyways, yes, Gil. But I mean, who knows? Do they release the gold saucer early enough to give you something to do where the mini games have no true impact on the actual game itself? Different currencies, so you'd sit there and do stuff. You can ride your snowboard. You can go do punching. You can even have the arena in there, just as long as it doesn't have a huge impact. But I mean, who knows?
Eric, chime in.
Well, I think what they could do, even between episodes, is
he was cleaning.
I'm cleaning. I'm going on an hour of sleep. Anyways, they could do like a completely different system. Like in episode 1, you could have this type of goal, this kind of experience, and then completely shift it over for episode 2, do a different kind of currency or something. So there's not that grinding. There's not that going into episode 2 overpowered or so much money you can just buy whatever you want. So I think that's something they may do.
See, I'm with you guys, except for the fact that they say that it's going to be a full-fledged game. Every episode is going to be a full game. If you were to tell me that episode 1 was Midgar, and I'm thinking back to how high I would be leaving Midgar if I didn't, sit there and super grind and stuff, even on those low levels. I don't even think you would even get close to 30.
No, I think you were in between the 23, 27, depending on if you tried to grind. I mean, a lot of people spent time in the tower, going up and down, especially
running up and down the stairs.
Yeah, using the elevators too. It all depended on how many random encounters you were doing. I would just hate for them to do something, like in Final Fantasy X, do the grid system, because then you're getting away from Final Fantasy VII. I mean, Final Fantasy VII, level 1 to level 99. That was it. And what do? Do you start over again? Do you kind of change it so that disc 2 you can be basically level 1 again, and then you play until whenever you're done, and then the next disc?
I really think they're going to make it so you have to import from the previous episode.
Okay, so then...
Because I think that's how... Even if you go to like the Telltale games, like The Walking Dead, I don't think you can play... You can't play like episode 5 if you haven't played the first 4.
Yeah.
So I think everything will be imported over.
Yeah.
But then what do? Do they limit it? Do they say 33 levels? If they say they do 3 discs, 33, 66, 99.
See, I feel that there's too much content that way then. Because if you think where they really had the cutoff, because like disc 3, if you take out the fact that it is the whole world open to you, it is not as long and there's not as much stuff going on.
Yep.
So I think it's hard for them to say the cutoff points are disc 1, disc 2, and disc 3. And this is getting to a point I wanted to bring up here, is going to be the price. I think, one, they want to make tons of money off of this, but I think it's hard to sell a $60 game.
I think they could, though.
I think they could, but I think when people really think about it and they go, you're going to sell me this at $60, that's $180 when I buy all 3.
Because they're saying each one is a full-length game, allegedly. So I think they're kind of priming us for, well, it's $60, but it's a full-length game. So I don't, they shouldn't. They should do like a $40 price, maybe.
And then that's where I was going to go, and that's how this works. Think about how a lot of consumers work. If I told you I'm going to sell you 3 items at $60, the first thing you do is go, that's almost $200. That's way too much. That's how a lot of consumers, look at stuff. You want me to pay $180 for this? But if I come to you and I go, yeah, Final Fantasy VII is going to be episodic, but each episode's only $40. But I don't tell you how many episodes it is. It ends up being 5. You still pay $200. You still pay almost the same amount. Yeah. But the fact that it's only $40 to the consumer makes it feel like it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing is where are they going to go, price-wise, cut off, all that stuff. Because, it's hard to say spend $60 3 times.
Yeah.
But if I tell you it's episodic and it's $40 and it's 5 episodes, like I said, it actually costs you $20 more, but it seems like an easier pill to swallow. And especially if it only ends up being 3, because then you're only spending $120.
Mm-hmm.
So, another question I want to move on, totally away from price tags and the episodes, though, is that they have said that they are going to add to the game. Okay? They haven't said if they're cutting out anything, but they are going to add to it. They're going to give, new features, adventures, stuff like that. There's going to be some other stuff added. But when I think of a Final Fantasy game, if you tell me they're going to add more to it, I also think characters. So could a remake of Final Fantasy have enough room to have another optional character?
I don't think so. I mean, the cast works together so well, and I think it's rich enough. I mean, maybe if they want to add some more mini games at the Gold Saucer or something, but I just think one of the great things about Final Fantasy VII is the interplay between characters, the background of them, and I think if you just start throwing in other characters, it kind of disrupts what I think is a really good flow of narrative to it.
What if they brought in like side stories, from like the other games and movies, events that happened, that could be chronologically
Advent
related.
Children, Crisis Core.
Exactly, things like that, So like maybe in the first game they'll add a little bit of information from Crisis Core into it, something to kind of give perspective to where Cloud came from and Sephiroth and them, and then like. Or something like Dirge of Cerberus, which was the Vincent game.
God, I was just thinking about that. They need to that needs to be a game in the Gold Saucer. You get to play that piece of crap,
right? Right. I actually kind of enjoyed it a little bit. It was just a good it was a little canon, but something like that, because that gives good background on who Vincent was and how he became to be, and things like that. So like maybe some side arcs that you can play through.
Yeah, there's a fine line between filler and, side stories. If they do that, they really have to make sure that it's good and not like those other games are just kind of like half-assed.
Like here's 5 scenes, here's you running around doing a couple things, and that's it. Good filler, guys.
So here's my thing. When it came to Final Fantasy VII, and hopefully, this isn't spoiler for some people. When Aerith,
at this point in time, if it's spoiler,
you were living on a rock or you're 5. That's one of the two options.
When Aerith dies, obviously she was your healer, and for me, I played her till I got her limit break, level 4, just to see her final, limit break, that kind of stuff. For those of us who played her to that point, but then you lost her, you're like, well, okay, so now I got to pull, other people in, and you're changing, your magic around, and this person can heal and whatnot. However, she was listed as the only known ancient left. If they wanted to add another character, you could do something, or they could do something that after Aerith is dead, okay, that another ancient may have been discovered, say in the ancient ruins, So she passes away, then they could do a side story into, say, there was another, and then she joins the party, he or she, however they want to do it, and you kind of get your healer back, different new set of limit breaks and whatnot, but that way you kind of have a replacement for Aerith. even though a lot of people don't want a replacement for.
Sydney awakens. She's a true ancient we never knew about.
Well, and he brought it up, so let's open up a can of worms and then totally avoid it so we can save some time.
Yep.
What if they actually implement the resurrection quest and side stuff to res Aerith?
Oh my gosh.
They bring that myth to life, and then you can actually do it. Oh, that would drive people insane.
They wouldn't. They're going to keep it.
Almost 20 years of frustration of people who either wanted that or wouldn't want it in there. Oh, there's the flame war for the century. You thought Sony versus Xbox fanboys were awful.
Hello, future DLC.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, don't give them ideas.
$5.99. You know what? Screw that. $29.99.
Oh, and you know what though? Some people would do it to give her back player an in game. It just, yeah. I don't know.
You pay $30 and you can go. You can res her.
Well, here's an idea for them, which I might not be out of the realm of possibility. Well, not the DLC, but when Nintendo announces the NX, because we all know they're getting a Cloud Amiibo for Smash Brothers. Say there's going to be an NX port, and you have the Cloud Amiibo that unlocks that quest.
Oh gosh. Oh, I'm gonna throw something at you. You're not that far away from me. I can maybe throw something hard enough to get you from here.
Get the table through the window. You got it.
Yeah, that table I'm flipping later is coming in through your window.
Well, just to keep moving it on, don't forget the change combat system. And you're going to have a very torn fan base here. They wanted a remake of Final Fantasy VII. However, it's not going to be turn-based. You're not going to have that combat system anymore.
It very much plays like Final Fantasy 15, which is another question I have here. How big will the map in the world actually be?
It's going to have to be enlarged, because if it roughly stayed the same size as it did in as the original Final Fantasy VII, and they're opening it up to a free flow combat kind of system, you're not going to have room to fight. And either that, or you're going to have very, very basic combat, where it's not going to be as amazing as.
Not even just that though, but thinking of all the different places you could actually go.
Mm-hmm.
And I get where you're saying they're going to have to expand it, because when you went up to like the Northern Crater, yeah, that's obviously it's going to have to be a lot bigger, but just for how much is in the world, can they honestly completely recreate all of that in an open world style combat system like in Final Fantasy 15? And draw all those creatures all over the place and have everything going on around it. Can they actually do that, or do they have to actually shrink down the areas themselves?
I see that. I don't know, dude. To me, I still think if they want to keep it somewhat classic, it's still going to be random encounters. You're going to be walking, and then all of a sudden the screen's going to change. You're going to be in a combat setting where it's still technically where you can move, but it's not on the map itself, because you got to consider, how in the world do you do Knights of the Round in open world?
That actually leads into the next question, to keep this thing flowing. What are the summons going to look like?
Crazy.
How amazing are these things going to be? And more importantly, the one you just nailed, how the hell is Knights going to look?
Over the top. Completely over.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was, like a 3-minute summon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, are they going to make it harder to get? I mean, they're gonna have the Chocobo race. They better have the damn Chocobo race.
Damn right, they better.
And for you and mating Chocobos, I mean, we all know the frustration, trying to get the black Chocobo and then a wonderful Chocobo together, and get the gold one, and then make them do it again and again and again to get the faster and faster Chocobos. But it's going to be interesting to see how that all works. But will they make it harder to get Knights of the Round Table?
See, and then I'm gonna completely wrap this all up, nice little bow here, because we talked about the extra stuff they're gonna put in. What can they add to it? What are they gonna change? I think stuff like Knights of the Round, the quest to get it, and having the right materia and all that crap to do all that stuff, grinding the worms on that stupid little island like I did for hours on end. I think all that's going to be the same. The addition will be a new summon that's even stronger.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know about longer, but stronger.
With an amiibo locked?
You son of a...
Eric, I want to flip a table.
You bring up amiibos again. All right. Well, let's keep this moving on. Let's
shortcut pack. Just saying.
What's that?
DLC shortcut pack.
Oh gosh. Is this gonna be like
$5.99.
Steam when Final Fantasy VII came out on Steam and you can just activate cheat codes all the time?
Exactly.
They're gonna
pay money.
pull Anima from Final
from
Fantasy
10?
For 10, yeah. It was actually a cool summon. But anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I just thought of? It has nothing to do with 10 though. It has to do with Final Fantasy 14. They're gonna give you costumes and different crossover stuff from like 14 and everything else.
Oh no! Ew.
Oh, you're gonna have Cloud
No.
dressed like Snow from 13 and all this, because that's what they do in 14. They do the events where you can unlock the different costumes.
Mm-hmm.
You can dress up like Cloud and like Lightning and stuff. Oh, they're gonna do it. I just gave them ideas.
We got to stop. Either we need to get in cahoots with them and figure out how to make money off it, or we need to stop.
Stop giving them ideas. Quit giving companies ideas.